building trust always starts with honesty, being forthright and honest, and sometimes framing a message with something that says, this may not be easy to hear, but here are some of the things that we think are important. Let's talk about what that looks like for you. So it's offering the information and then the opportunity for them to respond to that, and the opportunity for them to ask questions, the opportunity for them to search, to figure things out. We're in the Google world now that people will look up and know, and they may come in and say, well, this is what I need. And in many cases, that's what patients are doing. It may not be what they need. It may be completely wrong from what they need. And so building the trust is really saying, I want you to have the best information possible. Here are 3 things that I think we need to look at. Maybe there's a menu of choices that they have. It's always helpful to offer choices. And choices might be, for your oral health, there are a couple things that would really help you. Let's talk about 2 of those that I think would work.
What's going on, everybody? I'm John Stamper. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Operatory, brought to you by the amazing team at Dental City, and very excited for another episode with Betsy Mitchell. It's been wonderful to kind of have her share her insight, her years of experience and performance, and relate that to managing teams and leadership and all those great things. And so today's episode, as you saw by the title, is patient experience and community leadership. And Betsy, with this one, I wanted to start this out by saying we as patients/consumers live in a world now where outside of the dental practice, we have a lot of things that have been made easy for us. And so I feel like when we go into a dental practice now, like before our own eyes, the expectation level of the patients in a practice has changed a little bit. And so I'd love to get into that. And the very first thing I wanted to ask you around that, since we've been talking a lot about culture, is talk about what it takes for a practice to lead this patient-first culture. You know what I mean? To actually create that, but then more importantly, lead with that so that it becomes a part of what they do every day.
That patient experience is a very, very interesting topic because there are so many factors that go into how does someone experience the entire culture, the whole practice. It comes down to what does it feel like when they walk in the office? What is the sense that they have that people care about them? What is the level of expertise that they are looking for from that practice? And how do they feel when they walk out? So all of those pieces come into play. The patient experience, to me, is paramount for any practice because that patient, whomever they are, is going to talk to somebody else who talks to somebody else. And what we know is that a very positive experience is fabulous, and people will share that. But more quickly, they will share the negative experience, and they share it 10 times more than they do that positive experience. So you have to really be focused on how do we make this an experience that people enjoy as much as they can, and how do we make this significant enough for them to share with someone else. So that's that little bit of the wow factor that comes into play. Having that front of mind is important when anybody starts looking at how are we going to frame this day that person shows up in our office. But not only that, how do we frame how they see us someplace else? How do we frame their experience from calling in and setting up the appointment, etc.? So top of mind is thinking about the reaction that they're going to have and preparing for their reaction as opposed to just preparing to what you want to present. So I want to think about, if I say this to someone, I wonder how they would react to me. Not, I need to give this information to them. It's a different frame of mind. And when you come with that frame of mind, you're going to have a different tone and tenor to what you present to that patient. It's everything, though. It's the furniture in the waiting room. It's the feeling of the environment as you walk in there. It's the equipment. It's the cleanliness. It's the people. It's all of that. that goes into the patient experience. Now, if you ask a patient, what is your experience? They're going to go to the people side of it way sooner than they go to anything else. So you also have to really look at, do they feel welcome? Do they feel important? Do they feel valued? That goes back to our previous conversation around culture. It goes back to multiple conversations we've had about how does each employee, each person in that company, in that practice, present to the person that's walking in.
I think the reason why this content was so important for the Dental City team to put together, to have somebody like you and to get this out there, is because, as you know, in a dental practice, it's like a dual front. You have the communication that you were talking about when you have a practice owner building trust with their team.
Right.
Like, that's one level of it. But then you have the importance of being able to build trust with the patient and, having transparent, communications there.
Right.
So that's where I want to go next. Talk about the importance of how you build trust with those patients. You, as a clinician, know and understand better than anybody the type of care that those patients need. Like, they need to get this work done to help their overall health, and could be their we know more now through the oral systemic link that what happens
Right.
in our mouth is connected to the rest of the body.
Right.
So dental teams want patients to get their care to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Moving them forward to do that is not always easy. So let's go there.
It's not always easy because people don't necessarily want to hear what's important for them to know to take better care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So building trust always starts with honesty, being forthright and honest, and sometimes framing a message with something that says, this may not be easy to hear, but here are some of the things that we think are important. Let's talk about what that looks like for you. So it's offering the information and then the opportunity for them to respond to that, and the opportunity for them to ask questions, the opportunity for them to search, to figure things out. We're in the Google world now that people will look up and know, and they may come in and say, well, this is what I need. And in many cases, that's what patients are doing. It may not be what they need. It may be completely wrong from what they need. And so building the trust is really saying, I want you to have the best information possible. Here are 3 things that I think we need to look at. Maybe there's a menu of choices that they have. It's always helpful to offer choices. And choices might be, for your oral health, there are a couple things that would really help you. Let's talk about 2 of those that I think would work. So not just a one single-minded thing.
Right.
Then offering them the opportunity to ask questions, offering them the opportunity to say, what does that work or look like for you? How could you make one change that you think might be helpful? So engaging them in 1 or 2 things that they can be successful at is really helpful when you're trying to move people toward a better level of engagement, a better level of compliance,
Commitment,
maybe.
compliance.
Yes.
Commitment, yeah.
Yes.
Years ago, I'll never forget that example of the options. I had a contractor I was working with, and I'll never forget, he presented both options, shared with me the pros and cons of each. If you do this and spend this much money, like, this is what could happen.
Right.
If you do this and you spend this much money, and I'll never forget that. I mean, we're talking about this years later, to your point of presenting those options and sharing what the details are. And sometimes that's all it takes, right? I think sometimes teams can complicate it. They feel like they have to give all the scientific, words to kind of feel more credible, but not so much.
No, and I think the more that you speak in common language, the better it is.
Yeah.
The translation from your professional, technical language into what does that patient understand? How do they hear you, right? That's a way better way to communicate with them, and you're going to get a better response. If you start talking, in technological gobbledygook,
Yeah.
you lose them. This comes back to that the EQ thing that we talked about, which is in a previous session, which is observing how the message is being received. If you start to see this glazed over look, you've lost them. It's better then for you to step back and go, I think maybe I need to explain this in a different way. And then also looking at the options, it may very well be that you're offering options that none of them look great. None of them are going to be terrific. They might be too expensive. They might be too extensive. They might be too whatever. And even then to say, are there ways that we can parse these off and do partial pieces of these at a time. So looking for ways to make it possible, always looking for a way to get to yes rather than no.
So one of the most unique things about a dental practice is that it's a part of the fabric of the community that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
And the first two questions that we talked about were along the lines of the patient experience. Now I want to move to how creating that positive patient experience can really affect positively the practice within the community, meaning that when patients are happy, they tell others, they become an advocate for you
Absolutely.
and really start to strengthen things in your own community.
Absolutely. And it's even beyond being an advocate for you as a dental practice, but it's an advocate for others to assume healthy dental practices themselves, even if it might not be that that person comes to your practice. But the community benefits by having that viewing point of people taking good care of their oral health, recognizing it's a part of their overall health, and recognizing that they have partnered with you as a dental practice. It's not that you're doing it, it's that they've joined your partnership as a partner in their overall health. And the other piece of that is any time that you raise the conversation around good health care, and dental health care is huge. When you raise that conversation, you raise the opportunity for people to ask themselves, what am I doing? You raise the opportunity for people to notice your sign somewhere, or notice that you have supported the arts, or notice that you have decided you're gonna be the sponsor for the soccer team, or whatever it is. And all of those things say, these people, this practice cares about children. This practice cares about our community. This practice wants to be a good community partner. That is incredibly valuable when people are making decisions about who do I and my family want to partner with. I want to partner with someone that's a good community partner.
Right.
And we get to make those choices. It's a different world now where, it used to be people would say, well, I'm with this dentist, and that's a dentist I'm going to see for the rest of my life and until he retires and whatever. All of that has changed. We're now partnering with practices, with entities, with a larger group, and it might not be just that doctor, but when that larger group or that entity says, these things are important in our community, we want to make sure that we are visible, that we're out there, that people know we love this community, we want to be a part of it. The response from the community is going to be, wow, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going there.
Yeah. There's an interesting parallel between that and the whole idea of Dental City starting this podcast.
Yes.
Because, for those that are Dental City customers, they know Dental City to be, a company that can help them with their supplies and things like that. This was something that was very important for them to be able to bring people like yourself and others on something that is not supply driven, right? I mean, everything that we're talking about is how a dental practice can get stronger, leadership, culture, all these things that you've been addressing in these episodes. And it's been a way for them to be able to add additional value based on what people are used to them for. And I think the example you bring up is so valuable because I think that a dental practice or a practice owner may not always see themselves as such a prominent person in the community. The last thing I want to ask you around this is that we started these conversations with where the industry is right now and how a lot of things are changing. And I'm curious your thoughts on this. I feel like for a lot of businesses with AI and all of that, there's a lot of unknowns. And you've seen a lot in your career. And I feel like it's times like this, Betsy, where communities or just us as people are looking for leaders, when things are a little bit unknown.
Right.
And, since COVID, there's been a lot out there in regards to oral health and our body health and just a lot of things going out there. I do think, to your point, it's such a good opportunity for practice owners and a dental practice to kind of put that stake in the ground and position themselves as the health advocates in a community. Yes? I mean,
Absolutely. And you're right about that there are so many unknowns, and we are looking for people who don't know everything, but for people that we know can help us figure it out.
yeah.
We don't have to know all of the answers in that unknown, But when people see the stability of a practice and they see the philosophy of that practice in terms of what are they supporting in the community, how are they supporting prevention, how are they being proactive in the community, that fosters a great confidence from others to say, I can count on them. They may not have all the answers, but I can count on them because I know that they're going to try to figure it out.
Right.
And in this time of great uncertainty where we really don't know all the technological changes and whatever is occurring, what we do know is we have been successful along the way. We do know, and dental practices and practice owners know, they know how to do this. They know how to be successful. They know how to meet the needs of people, and they know that they can figure it out. And that's crucial. I don't need to know the answers. I just need to know I can figure it out.
Well, this has been another great one. I think for those that are watching this, the patient experience is changing. The position of a dental practice in the community, a lot of these things you talked about have been there for years, right? If you look at successful dental practices in communities all over this country, I think in some form or fashion, they've been doing that, right?
Yes.
They've been involved in the community, but definitely I feel like there's more of an opportunity now to do that.
And it needs to be more intentional.
Yeah.
Be thoughtful, intentional, planful for the biggest impact.
All right. So if you like this episode, we'd love to have you subscribe. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, same thing, so that each time we upload a new episode, it'll come through on your listening device of choice. And the next episode that we're going to get into for everybody, Betsy, is we've kind of put all these things together, and it's going to be around personal leadership and growth, right? So we're going to get into that in the next episode. I think that with all of the things that you've shared, I'm sure a lot of the listeners are like, okay, there's a lot for us to do. And a lot of the things are around how they can become better leaders and continue to grow. So look forward to that next episode.
Wonderful. Thanks, John.
Awesome.